The Mercurial Dream Speed, or MDS, has now reached its 4th generation. In this box, we have the MDS 4. So we're going to take a look at it today, decide whether we like the colorway, what the inspirations are, why Nike have designed this boot like this. But we're also going to consider, have Nike given up on the MDS line a little bit? Is it struggling? And is it not quite as successful as Nike would have hoped? What's up guys, I'm James, welcome to BootWizard, and yes, we're going to be looking at the brand new Mercurial Dream Speed today as a little sneak preview. So if you do have any questions, pop them down in the comments. Remember to like the video, get subscribed to the channel. If you can support us, head to patreon.com/BootWizard. And if you do want to cop a pair of these beauties for yourself, then just hit the link in the top pinned comment down below. That's all the announcements, so let's just get on with it, shall we? So firstly, let's crack open the box, see what we've got inside, and we do have a Superfly 8 Mercurial Dream Speed 4. So you can see down the back here, MDS 004. Also, as this is a Nike top-end model, as you might expect, we get a string bag, and you'll see that the MDS in the string bag, it matches that MDS 004 on the back, and also the Superfly writing that is down the dynamic fit collar here. And you'll notice it's not really something we've seen from Nike before, and what it is it's basically inspired by NASA. Nike have basically confirmed this without actually saying the word NASA, but a lot of the text here is NASA inspired because the boots are inspired by a spacecraft re-entering the Earth's orbit, which is what this box is going to have to go. It's in the way. Where was I? Color gradient is all about that spacecraft re-entering the Earth's orbit. So you can see the hottest point here as it travels the fastest down on the white tip of the boot here, and then as you travel down the boot, it kind of cools down with the yellow area into this red and then back out into the fade out on the back. So honestly, it's a bit like an ombre in reverse, and it reminds me a lot of the more summer-themed boot that we got when the Magista Opus was released. If you remember, one that faded from top to bottom, it's what it reminds me of color-wise, but simply by making it a lateral fade, it does make the boot look a lot faster, which is the whole idea here. So we spoke about that text on the Superfly and also in the MDS on the back there being space inspired, NASA inspired, as is basically every other element of the boot. So you can see we've got the chrome in the speed wings, which still don't do anything, but at least they kind of make sense on this boot, right? Speed wings, Mercurial Dream Speed. Am I trying to make excuses for something that's a little bit silly? Maybe. And then we're going to have a look here at the chrome swoosh on either side. So we've gone for a smaller swoosh this time, and Nike themselves have said that the reason that there's the smaller swoosh and not the big toe swoosh on this, which is of course preferred by Ronaldo himself, and this is essentially a Ronaldo collaboration signature model. It's Ronaldo, Mbappe, Kerr were the main three when the Mercurial Dream Speed came out. We've now expanded that, and we're looking at Haaland, Vinicius Jr., we've got Bruno Fernandes in these. There's a whole heap more players wearing the Dream Speed, which we'll get onto in a second because I have some thoughts on that. But we got the smaller swooshes in this chrome color, and the chrome color is again space inspired. So this is all about that lining that you see on everything basically. So the reflective panels that you see on space equipment, space travel. I'm really doing a bad job of explaining that. That fade then goes all the way around the boot, which as you would expect with this 360 design, but it matches up perfectly with the Aerotrax plate in the forefoot being yellow, and then the black standout in what is actually the Aerotrax section. I think that looks really, really nice, especially fading out into the white in the back. And then as we rotate this, it's probably a good time to bring up these little squares here, which are interesting. Like, they just really seem to stand out, and I wasn't sure I was a fan of them to begin with. I'm still not sure I am a fan of them. And I thought, actually, similarly to J-Mike over at Unisport, so he picked a specific space mission that he thought these had come off, a specific shuttle. However, I didn't quite get that far, and my thought process was that these were actually for measuring distance. So you see a lot of people, specifically physicists. I learned this from Mark Rober, by the way. If you don't follow Mark Rober's YouTube channel, you should. The guy is a genius, and he's so good. He's an ex-NASA scientist, NASA engineer, and you use this because it's a known distance, and by knowing how many of the squares something has traveled, you can measure a whole lot of things such as speed, which is what I thought they were for. However, from seeing, again, a J-Mike interview with the guys at Nike, they are for positional visual lock-on. So how do I explain this? So when you see something move very quickly, this particular pattern allows you to pinpoint an area on the object. So if it's rotating, for example, so if you were to rotate this boot, you would be able to notice that this point was rotating, and then the engineers on the ground would know that you've got good takeoff from your space shuttle because it's rotating in the correct manner. I don't know if you care about that, but I thought that was really, really interesting. And you know what? Whether you like them or not, these little additional elements, I think that's a really cool detail. And it's nice to see that there's that much thought that's gone into these boots. Now, there is an interview over on Unisport's Instagram Live, which I strongly suggest you go and check out, with J-Mike and one of the guys who does some of the main design for Nike on the Mercurial series and worked on this particular boot. And the insight that he gives is fantastic. I passed along a lot of it to you here, but I don't want to take it as my own research. This guy is where I got my information from. I think the video has got like 2,000 views or something. It's a travesty. If you're a boot head, go over there, watch that video. It's just so great to listen to somebody who is involved in the design process talk about how it works and how they came to have this boot. And I think that's something Nike should do more often. Not the interview. Give us that information. Put that information out there as to what the design process was, what all the little elements are, because it just makes the boots far more interesting. So at the very start of the video, I made some very bold claims that despite all of the effort that's going into these, such as this, you know, you've got the Nike World Headquarters, Beaverton, Oregon, with the zip code in there on the insole, all fantastic stuff. Despite the fact that Nike putting all this effort into these, is the Dream Speed line not succeeding? And why do I think it's not succeeding? And is this a line that Nike are losing faith in? Made both of those big claims, and let's see why. Firstly, talk about whether I think that they are succeeding or not. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of the MDS boots, and I think that the Mercurial Dream Speed as a concept is actually quite good. It's like a mini limited edition line that continues on throughout different versions of the Mercurial. I was very excited when it came out, and they've not really had a miss with the colorways so far. This one I quite like, especially in hand, and on feet it looks fantastic. The previous generation, the version 3, which was kind of based on the dream aspect rather than the speed aspect, all about Ronaldo, I think was absolutely amazing. Now, these are limited edition boots, so they come with a hefty price tag. They come up at 290 euros, which is more expensive than your standard release Mercurial. Now, why do I think that potentially they're not doing so well? Well, I have no facts or figures to back this up, but we are in a pandemic. People have lost their jobs. These are very expensive football boots, and Nike over the last 2 generations have pushed these boots out onto the feet of more and more athletes. So you take a look to start with, we had Sam Kerr, Mbappe, and Ronaldo. Fine, they were the 3 faces. It was Ronaldo with the future, basically, Sam Kerr and Mbappe. Completely made sense to me. Then by the time we got to the 3rd generation, we're starting to push these boots onto more people. Like, I understand putting the boots on Haaland because he is the epitome of the young up-and-coming talent. But Bruno Fernandes, he's a big name, but he's in his mid-20s. Is he really the MDS stable, I suppose? Is he in that MDS stable? Is he a player that's going to go and take over the mantle of Ronaldo, which is how I've always seen this boot? It's Ronaldo bringing along the next generation of Ronaldos and inspiring them. Is Bruno Fernandes really that player? Vinicius Jr., I kind of get that as well, but I do feel like there's some players that have been put in these for the sake of getting maximum exposure on the boots, which leads me to believe that Nike needed more exposure, and just having Ronaldo, Mbappe and Kerr in them wasn't doing quite enough. Then, being a complete smartass, I thought that my theories, my conspiracy theories on Nike losing faith in the MDS had been confirmed when these were only released as a Superfly in the FG pattern in the Elite and Academy variants. These are the only two variations of the Superfly, of the MDS4 that you can buy. And I'm like, they've ditched the Vapor, they aren't getting behind it anymore, and this is going to be the end of the MDS. It's not working for them, and they're going to move away from it. Well, it turns out that essentially it's still pandemic related, but it's not quite that. It does seem like Nike are still fully behind the MDS, and I suppose why wouldn't you be when you're putting out boots like this that get a whole heap of attention? Again, if you want a copper pair, top link down in my top description. But the reason that there is no Vapor, it was designed, it was ready to be put out, and you can see players like Bruno Fernandes, they wear a Vapor and they still have the Vapor without the collar on the pitch right now. So they're still rocking the MDS, just not in the Superfly variant because it was made, it was ready to go. However, due to COVID, Nike have scaled back manufacturing. And some of that is going to be down to the fact that there's just not as much demand right now. People aren't going out and playing as much as they are. Leagues are cancelled, they're delayed, and people have lost their jobs. So there's going to be less demand for people to go out and buy boots. So instead of pouring a load of money into manufacturing processes to make the Superfly and the Vapor, Nike have just made the Superfly. And I'm not speculating on that. That is confirmed by Nike. The losing faith in the MDS was pure speculation on my part, and it looks like I'm wrong, but it's interesting, right? If you do want a full review of these, tech spec breakdown, how they perform, everything like that, that's already up on the channel. Just click the link up above my head, or you can click a link down in the description as well. You'll be able to see how these perform, what I think of them, what the sizing is like. All of that kind of information is there in the full review. This is my thoughts and unboxing of the MDS. So you can pick that up if you want. So there is your look at the Nike Mercurial Dream Speed 4 in all of its spaceship-inspired glory. And I think you can totally see where they're coming from with the design elements on these. And on feet, I really, really like them. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Remember to like the video, get subscribed to the channel. If you do want a copper pair, top link in the top pinned comment. And if you can support us, head to patreon.com/BootWizard. That's all from me here today. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon.